The Tournament of Power has arrived, the perfect opportunity for everyone to show off their strength. It seems everyone in Universe 7 has their own ways of trying to catch up to Goku. We'll see how that's going and more in this finale of What If Goku went Super Saiyan early. Piccolo arrives at the lookout, fusing with Kami, finally completing himself after all this time. This is long overdue, and a tournament that decides the fate of the universe, it's the perfect chance for him to actually do this. And immediately after fusing, the first thing he does is get Goku to come here. And naturally Goku's pretty curious as to how strong he's grown. The two find an empty spot to begin fighting in. Not only does Goku want to test Piccolo's power, but Piccolo wants to test it too. He could feel he's changed a lot, but that's different from using it in practice. The two start their clash. And right off the bat, Goku could tell that Piccolo's base is a lot stronger. But that's not the true extent of his power. Goku knows he's been training a lot ever since they last fought. He feels bad because he kinda neglected his rivals on Earth. They've been in his life for so long and they've always been so dedicated. But Piccolo in particular has always been interesting. Especially now with this. And he's glad they decided to fuse. It's been a long time coming and this finally completes them. Piccolo's full strength really comes with Kaioken. And especially after fusing, this boosted even further. He's been working with this for years by now using his own state of it where it's basically evolved, where he's constantly pushing the multiplier to as high as it can go. While he's not the only one with Kaioken, he's the only one who can do it this proficiently. It destroys his body, but he instantly regenerates from it. Of course, this does run down his stamina, but the more he works with it, the more efficient he gets with it, and the higher he can go with it. He actually pushes Goku pretty far too. He didn't realize Piccolo had grown this strong. Of course, Goku doesn't need to use his full power here, but he's pushed into using Super Saiyan God from this, and even that's not really enough. And once more, it reinforces the fact that he feels kinda bad that he forgot all his rivals here on Earth. This applies to Krillin, Ten, everybody. He needs to pay more attention to them, especially Piccolo. The former Piccolo is what caused him to grow this strong in the first place, albeit indirectly. The whole reason he went Super Saiyan so early on is because of King Piccolo's influence, and his encounter with King Piccolo directly led to him meeting Kami. Part of the reason he is where he is today is because of the former Piccolo, and he hopes the new current Piccolo could push him even further. But that does leave one question. What happened with the Dragon Balls though? Piccolo says they have disappeared, but Kami has entrusted him with his power, and he expects Piccolo to find the answers himself. Maybe try to figure out a way to make his own Shenron. And Kami also said one condition to the fusion is that he'll have to be Earth's guardian now, which he doesn't really mind. And now we go on to the tournament itself. As you'd probably expect, it's not really too big of a deal for Universe 7. The team's actually pretty stacked. Krillin hangs with Android 18, who of course hangs with Android 17. Ten and Yamcha spend a lot of time fighting together too, with Piccolo occasionally joining in, although he's more to himself. They're all keeping up really easily. As for the four Saiyans, of course they all go off on their own. There are points when they inadvertently fight with each other, but for the most part they go off by themselves. Nappa and Raditz each try to surpass each other, trying to prove which of the two is stronger. They might not reach number 1 anytime soon, or maybe even number 2, but they could definitely compete for number 3 at least. Each of the warriors eventually comes across someone from Universe 2, with more of Universe 2's fighters coming to fight them. Eventually those fighters converge, and Raditz and Nappa are forced to fight with each other again. Well, fighting alongside each other is a much easier way to prove their strength. Naturally, Goku's eyes go to Jiren pretty quickly, deciding he wants to fight him because apparently Jiren's the strongest in another universe. But Jiren's also heard of Goku, a mortal who's been capable of unlocking a godly technique that none of the other gods have, besides the angels of course. The two have heard equal rumors about each other. Jiren's apparently stronger than his own god of destruction. And as for Goku, he has Ultra Instinct, a technique Jiren's never dealt with before. Given how much Jiren values strength, right off the bat he actually kind of respects Goku. Assuming this rumor is true, and that feeling's mutual, the two begin fighting each other. As for Vegeta, he watches the fight from nearby, just trying to study it. People try to attack him, but he instantly wards them off, defeating a bunch of fodder that comes his way. But then there's one person that comes towards him that actually is pretty strong. Just as Vegeta's number 2 in his universe, he's fighting number 2 from Universe 11, the Pride Trooper Toppo. This guy seems like he's actually pretty strong, so Vegeta's excited. Glad he's fighting someone who could actually be a challenge for him. He instantly goes into blue, and Toppo actually does pretty well against him, until Vegeta shows off Blue Evolution. He didn't think he'd need his full power here, but he's glad Toppo's a worthy opponent. But he can immediately tell that Toppo's holding something back. He's not really too sure why. Toppo does have more power, but using it means he has to throw away his ideals. Frankly, Vegeta thinks that's ridiculous. If that power is something he could already access, he should just be able to use it on his own, or at least make it his own. Toppo knows that by using it, he'd be giving up who he is, and he can't fully make use of the power without this. But Vegeta's getting bored of this fight, and tells Toppo if he wants the universe to survive, he's gonna have to use every bit of power he has. He needs to get over himself, and use that full strength. Otherwise, Vegeta's gonna knock him out right now. And Vegeta's right. It's partially because he wants to see Toppo's full power, but it's also an encouragement of sorts. Toppo should try and make this power his own. He can embrace it, but also transform it at the same time, bringing out his full power against Vegeta. As Nappa and Raditz take on the entirety of Universe 3 alone, they are starting to face some struggle. Despite how goofy they look, Universe 3 actually seems pretty powerful, especially when they combine their power together. They even perform some weird attack that makes a giant black hole, but the two of them are determined to break out of it. All 10 of the warriors from Universe 2 are doing this together. It's even stronger than it was normally. But Nappa and Raditz won't fall here. Instead of getting pushed through the ring, they push the attack back, breaking through their limits, going beyond Super Saiyan Blue, each finally unlocking Blue Evolution. Nappa charges all of his power, performing a giant storm. And with his new transformation, this is actually enough to even push the attack back, sending it to the Warriors of Universe 2. Raditz then jumps up in the air and performs a double Sunday, spinning around as he falls down towards the ground. This is basically Skeet shooting for him, individually knocking out each of Universe 2's warriors while they're in the air, pushed back by Nappa's attack and their own. And just like that, the entirety of Universe 2 is knocked out of the ring. Goku's fight with Jiren rages on. There are some people who try to intervene, but Piccolo stops that from happening. He's kinda taking on a Vegeta role now and watching the fight himself. Because Goku's using that new power Ultra Instinct, Piccolo's never actually seen it before. Goku still hasn't mastered the form, although he still is able to use Omen willingly, and he's gotten better with it. And even with it just being Omen, he's contending with Jiren at his full power. The other gods watch on amazed not only at Goku, but also Jiren's full strength. But there is a brief moment in battle where Goku's power flares up. He lands a finishing blow on Jiren, and for a split second his hair turns white, like he's flickering in and out of a completed version of the form. Of course, Whis is really excited to see this, hoping Goku's able to grasp it here. And he briefly does, using this to knock Jiren out of the ring, but also Goku falls back into Omen. Still, this is really great. Whis could tell he's on the cusp of actually completing the form. And at least his control over Omen is really good too. Vegeta's fight with Toppo also ends with Vegeta winning, with him having an easier time than normal too. But he's glad Toppo at least did show off his full power, and he reminds Toppo to make that his own. It doesn't matter anyways because Universe 11 is going to be eliminated, but Vegeta says they're going to come back. He'll get the wish and make sure of it. There's so much more in other universes he has to explore, and other people like Toppo he could test his power and ideals against. He actually expected more from Universe 6 with their Saiyans, but here they weren't too impressive. Vegeta's got his eyes on the other universes now. Universe 7 ends up winning the tournament. As for the MVP, it ends up being Raditz, which no one really expected, including Raditz himself. The reason is Universe 7 has a bunch of people left in the ring. Goku really had one fight the entire tournament, just with Jiren, which was still a pretty important fight, but it was one person. Raditz actually got credit for the eliminations, even though it was a joint attack with him and Nappa. He was the one to land the final blow, and getting 10 people out with one attack is pretty impressive. Plus, he did have other eliminations here and there. But he has the highest elimination count in the tournament, and for that, he becomes MVP. Goku wonders what he's going to wish for, and Raditz hadn't really thought that far ahead. But he comes to a good idea for a wish pretty quickly. He wants to restore the other universes. Just like Vegeta, he sees value in fighting all these people again. It'd be a shame for that power to go to waste. Plus, he feels responsible for wiping out an entire universe. He's the reason Universe 2 got erased. It's kinda messed up and he doesn't really want to live with that. The old him would have loved it, but the current him, not so much. They were all just fighting for their survival, and none of these people were his enemies. The wish is granted and everybody comes back. What do we have following this arc? Well, there's not going to be anything with Broly because no Frieza means no Broly. At least not at the moment. Then we get to the Moro arc, but not much of that's going to happen either. Boo's destruction means that the seal on Moro is broken, so he does break out. And even though Boo's not on Earth, Mayors would probably go to Earth to get help from Goku, especially after hearing that he has access to Ultra Instinct, with Whis telling him about this. They don't even realize that this is the perfect counter for Moro. And it's not Omen either. By the time this arc rolls around, Goku has the completed version of Ultra Instinct, which is even more overkill, especially with the fact that Moro is still weakened. It would take longer to get to Namek because they can't teleport there, but he's able to get there before Moro is able to make his wish, which is good because he gets to defeat Moro, and Porunga can be used to bring everybody back. It would have been bad if they lost Porunga because they don't have a Shenron either, at least not right now. That was a little too close for comfort, even though the fight itself was pretty easy for Goku. No Frieza also means none of the granola stuff, especially without the Heaters getting access to Zuno's info, which wouldn't happen without 7-3. But there is one more arc that still does happen, Superhero. Goku, Vegeta, Raditz, and Nappa are all on Beerus' planet, and the Red Ribbon Army targets some of the people on Earth. Krillin and Ten are sparring one day, and an android shows up. Krillin doesn't get how there's more androids in the first place, but definitely an issue regardless. Android 18 catches wind of this too, and she's pretty pissed off to hear it. Krillin, 18, and Tenshinhan fight together. Gamma 1's pretty powerful, although he's being pushed back by these three together. But still, they can't beat him. Gamma 1 then gets word from Gamma 2 that he killed Piccolo, and that he's returning to base. Piccolo did the same thing he did against Gamma 2 in the movie where he pretended to die. He tails Gamma 2 to his base, and thanks to his great ears, he could pick up their conversation. He knows the general direction of the base, but he could also sense Krillin and Ten fighting, and he hears that another Gamma's fighting them, so he decides to go help them, quickly changing direction and going over to where they are. And while Gamma 1's winning his fight, he's suddenly ambushed by Piccolo, showing off his actual strength. He's grown even stronger since the tournament, especially after getting more accustomed to the new fusion that he has, and with these four fighting together, they actually overwhelm Gamma 1. Naturally, he calls Gamma 2 for backup, and he's pretty pissed off at Gamma 2 for saying that he killed Piccolo when he clearly didn't. He needs to be more thorough. Piccolo wishes that they had more people here to help because Yamcha's not with them at the moment, Android 17's too far away, and there's no one else that could fight. Trunks and Goten are too inexperienced, and same for Gohan in this story too. It makes him wonder how different things would be if those three were actually stronger, particularly Gohan. But they don't kill Gamma 1, and eventually when Gamma 2 shows up, it seems that everybody's calmed down. They learn they've basically been misguided. And of course Dr. Hedo's watching everything, and he realizes the same. Thankfully things didn't escalate too much, and he's able to actually stop Cell Max. The people they're fighting aren't bad at all. Dr. Hedo kinda looked the other way for research money, but in good conscience he can't do this, especially when he's trying to create superheroes. Gamma 1 and 2 then turn on Red Pharmaceuticals, and with their new allies, the entire operation is stopped. Cell Max is destroyed before he's completed, and there's only one casualty, Magenta, due to him picking a fight with Hedo. He could thank Hachimaru for that. But still, Piccolo is surprised that the Hybrid Saiyans couldn't help at all here. He knows Raditz in particular really liked to pressure Gohan into training. Goku too to some extent, but given his different upbringing here, he didn't really push too hard for that. Maybe Raditz was actually right and it's time to whip him into shape. Now back to Beerus' planet. By this point, Vegeta, Raditz, and Nappa are all on equal footing, and they kinda have to think outside the box to surpass each other. Goku is still in a league of his own, and he's still continuously growing. As for Nappa and Vegeta, right now they're trying to go beyond Super Saiyan Blue evolution, if there even is a way beyond that. Meanwhile, Beerus has taken an interest in Raditz, wondering if he should really pursue a God of Destruction candidate. Raditz isn't just aiming for the number 3 spot anymore. He's aiming to surpass Kakarot. As his older brother, he should be the stronger one after all. It's a pretty bad example if he's the weakest of the two. Goku of course looks forward to this, wondering what type of things Raditz is going to learn from Beerus. Especially after that tournament, it basically cemented the fact that Beerus thinks Raditz is the best candidate. That wish he made and the reasoning behind it, it shows that he'd fit for this. He still does have some work to do, but he's proven to be able to destroy other things, having the mental fortitude to do so, but also not being a crazy villain that just enjoys doing that and that only. He still isn't too sure, but he knows both Vegeta and Goku turn down the position. There is still Nappa too, but he wonders what's next for him. As far as Beerus is concerned, Goku's going to be his rival, and Raditz will be his next candidate for God of Destruction. Vegeta's already found his place in the universe. And as for Nappa, he's content with where he is as well. They all eventually hear of what happened on Earth as well. Thankfully the people there were strong enough to stop it, particularly Piccolo. But still, this kinda does annoy Raditz. He tried to get his nephews to train. Vegeta's also a bit ticked off that Trunks didn't get involved. Nappa then looks over at Goku with almost an evil grin, jokingly saying those boys of his are a disgrace. Maybe it's time for Raditz and Nappa to whip them into shape, molding them into true Saiyan warriors, and having them harness that potential that they might have. Yeah, maybe that'll be Nappa's role. He's gonna be a teacher. Well, if that makes him happy, then yeah, Goku didn't really expect it, nor did Raditz or Vegeta. They do wonder how well that'll go though. And with that, we end off this series here. What'd you guys think about this part and the story as a whole? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to see what you think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps out the channel and shows me you want to see more like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, thanks for supporting the story all the way through, and I'll see you all in my next video.